pause when you are. But we're starting. Count.
Hey everyone, welcome to Unios Insights Live, episode 2. We're actually in the lovely Diamond Island Ho Chi Minh City showroom in Vietnam today. So we're going to have a little bit of a look around. So if you, just as always, if you can't catch the whole video, the recordings will be available on YouTube afterwards at Unios Light. So let's have a little bit of a look around and then we'll get into today's topic. So follow me. So here we are in the showroom. So this showroom has been up and running since May 2020. And it actually holds up to about 40 staff that we've got here in Vietnam. That's everything from our sales team to our R&D department, our brand department, and also operations. So let's go have a little bit of a look where they work. We can go kind of wave to some people over here. So come through this way. So here's our Vietnam team. Someone give us a wave maybe. Yeah. So the real concept of when this place was designed, we wanted to try and just not match what we had in Perth HQ, but better it. So we feel that we've really achieved that with this showroom, and it's just that next level up from when we were designing our Perth HQ. So as you can see around, you know, we've got the awesome LX, they've got these awesome curtains that they can change colours throughout the day. Really, really cool space. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. Today we're here to talk about colour rendering. So let's go over the other side of the showroom and let's get started on that. So follow me. Alrighty, so we're going to come over this way and we'll do a bit of an introduction into colour rendering. So why is colour rendering important? Okay, I think personally colour rendering is really, really important because we want to be able to see the world in its most natural way. Okay, if we were outside, if we had the sun beating down on us, how would colour look and how would that make us feel? All right, so when we come inside, we need to try our very hardest to replicate that. Okay, so what we want to do is have an LED of a really, really good quality that can actually get as close to natural light or true colour as possible. So how do we do that? Right? So we actually have, there is two kind of references for colour rendering. The first one I'm going to talk about is CRI. So that stands for the Colour Rendering Index. All right. Now the Colour Rendering Index is made up of 15 colours. I personally am not a big fan of CRI because it has some flaws, and I'm going to explain them to you now. So the flaws of CRI is that there is 15 colours, but it was designed for fluorescent light. It wasn't designed for LED. So the colours are very pastel. And when we kind of transfer that over to LED, although pastels are important, we just need to make sure that, you know, there is the more vibrant colours and the more saturated colours that we're actually, you know, making use of. So when us as a manufacturer, Unios, are measuring CRI, we only have to use the first 8 colours. Okay, and the main thing about those first 8 colours is it doesn't include red, which is the hardest colour to hit. Now we're going to do an example of what kind of red looks like under a couple of different CRIs after, but when you see on a data sheet, you might see, for instance, CRI 97 plus. We want to make sure we always have that R9 value that's sitting on the data sheet afterwards, because that's our red, and it's really, really hard to hit. Okay. Now, just to explain CRI, it goes from 0 to 100. We're going to see a 0 today, and we're going to see a 97 with an R9 value of 90. We're going to do that comparison, which is really cool. So 0 to 100. Natural light, the sun, outdoors being 100, that's when everything is its true colour, how we perceive that colour. And then we kind of come down, I would say, you know, not bad, but the kind of standard point for CRI would be 80. So we don't go all the way down to 20, 30, 40. We start at about 80, and then all LEDs kind of sit between 80 and 97, 98. Unios standard on all our LED chips is 92, so anything above 90 is considered good, and then anything above 95 is considered excellent. Okay, so that's a little bit of a background on CRI. There is also another measurement, which is definitely coming into the market a lot more rapidly now. And that is called TM30. So why is TM30 created? It was created by the IES and some universities in Europe and in America. And they wanted a better way to measure artificial light versus natural light. Okay, so the good thing about TM30 is it actually references 99 colours. And you can actually see those 99 colours on the wall behind me that we've got represented. Not only does it represent the 99 colours, which it so happens to be are the most represented colours on planet Earth. Alright, so it goes for the 99 colours instead of 15, and really we only use 8 of CRI, so a lot more colours to choose from. Colours that are more representative of what LEDs can produce as well. And then we also have 2 other metrics that go with that. So we have the fidelity, which actually references how well that artificial light can separate the colour. How good can it show an individual colour? And then we also have the gamut as well, reference number, which shows the saturation. So sometimes things can look really desaturated, they kind of look unnatural, or you can go the other way, if you like reading comic books or something like that, and you can go really oversaturated and have that pop art kind of colour to things. So how do we kind of use this in real life, and how do we able to use TM30 and those 2 references? If I've got, say I've got a fruit and veg store, right? And I have red apples, green apples, all this beautiful colour throughout the store. Maybe I want it to look a little bit fake, right? Maybe I want it to look a bit oversaturated. With the TM30 graph, we can actually see which colours are desaturated and oversaturated, and we can make informed choices about our artificial lighting. The main goal of TM30 is to stick to the reference, which is natural light. Okay, so that's a little bit about TM30. That's also a little bit about CRI. Now, I want to tell a bit of a story about kind of what I think most people have experienced. Has everyone, and I know this is a rhetorical question, but has everyone kind of went to select a paint colour, or they went to select, you know, tiles for their home, or maybe you're an architect or interior designer and you're selecting for a project? Have you ever walked up to a window with 2 samples to make that selection? Or have you ever taken those samples outside to make that selection? I think probably most of you have done that. I think so. So why do we do that? Because we want to see what it looks like under true colour. Okay, true colour being that natural daylight. So if we are going outside to make those selections, why aren't we thinking about CRI when we're coming back inside? What's the lighting going to be on the project? How do we make that timber look as good as it can? How do we make that marble, that tile, all those kinds of things? How do we make it look as good as when you selected it standing outside of your office or from the tile shop? So that's a good little reference to think about. If we're spending so much money on joinery and all these kind of finishes inside our projects, we need to think about what they actually look like under the artificial light on the project. So let's go for a little bit of a walk around. We're going to do this colour example now. Now we're going to step into the experience box at our Ho Chi Minh City showroom. Now we have this bike over here. All right, I'm just going to close the curtain. All right, so bear with me for a little bit. So as you can tell, this is going to get greyer and greyer and greyer. We're actually going to suck all the colour out of this space. And I wish you could see it in real life, because it is so kind of daunting. As I'm looking at June behind the camera, her face is going grey. And you'll see when I finally turn off the last bit of colour, how grey is this going to go. So this is a Ducati. Everyone kind of knows Ducati red. Let's have a look at how grey it is. We've still got light on. You can still see, if we just show the light, it's not like we're kind of in complete darkness. It is quite a bright light. It is a CRI. It's not quite 0, but it's very low. Let's just have one more look at the Ducati here. Okay, So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce colour. I'm going to introduce a high CRI, and we're going to see how much difference this can make. Now I know this is an extreme example, but this is just to kind of show you what's going on. So as I start to slowly turn this up, you'll see a turn from the grey. We've got a little bit of red. Now I haven't changed the bike, obviously. I'm not that good at editing. And this is live anyway. So we've got a real vibrant red now. Now this is under a really high CRI. Now I know it's not, a fair comparison because I did suck all the light out of the space, but I think it's just a really cool concept of, how much difference that CRI can actually make, how it matters to, I suppose, our everyday lives and things like that. Whether it's retail, and we do have things like this, whether it's hospitality, whether we're in a gallery, that's when it's really important, right? And it's also important for just our visual comfort, okay? Our visual comfort, when we walk into a space, we don't want that jarring experience between outside, nice greens and trees and cars driving down the road, and then when we walk inside, we don't want to kind of kill that vibrancy, right? A part of us is going to die when we walk into a space and it's really poorly lit, and I'm sure you've all walked into poorly lit spaces and kind of been like, that wasn't that great. So it is super important. I hope you've just seen that that's going to kind of change the way it kind of works. So we'll just come over here a little bit. So to kind of wrap things up, colour rendering is, I think, is everything. Okay, we can see what happens when it goes to 0. All right. See what happens when it goes to 0. We can see what happens when we have a bright CRI. If you think about the kind of most vibrant spaces you've ever walked into, it's most likely due to the artificial lighting having a high CRI, or maybe a heap of windows where all that natural light is pouring in. Architects and interior designers that are on the webinar today, please remember that if you are making these selections and you are taking your samples outside, we need to make sure that we're having a high CRI. We're actually testing those samples and testing that colour under the light that's actually going on the project. Okay, because you might make a selection between 2 creams or 2 whites, and then when you actually get to site, it's not what you envisioned, because we walked outside and we stood at the window, and then we ended up with CRI 80 on the project at the end. So what I'm going to do now, hopefully we've got a fair few questions and things like that. We're going to see, oh yep, we've got a couple. I've got the lovely Lynn handing over a laptop at the moment. So first question is, what kind of space would absolutely need high CRI? Okay, well I've kind of mentioned it. Anything where we have really large amounts of colour, okay? So, I mean, galleries is the first thing that comes to mind. An artist maybe even painted it outside, right? They may even had a really nice studio that they painted that in. So we need to replicate that. But more in our everyday lives, when we're going to the shop, right? How do we use CRI? How do we make people feel good about all the things that are sitting on the shelves? How do we show them in their best form? How do we help our clients? The people that own these retail stores and hospitality spaces, how do we help them kind of enrich their businesses and grow their businesses? And that is really due to having good quality artificial light with a high CRI or a really kind of well-rounded TM30. Okay, we've got the next question. Is having high CRI always good? Okay, so, I mean, I personally think so. There's nothing better than being outside. I don't know, maybe if it's a cloudy day, not so much, but on a nice blue, bright, sunny day, I don't think there's anything better. So why wouldn't we want to replicate that in every internal space that we have throughout the projects that we design, throughout the spaces we use on a daily basis, and even our homes, right? We've all got sentimental items that we put in our homes. We've all got maybe a picture hanging on the wall. We've got photo frames of loved ones and things like that. Why wouldn't we want it to look as good as possible as we're moving throughout our home? Cool. So we got any more questions? Only 2 today? That's all right. Someone maybe get on the keyboard and start typing. Give you something else to talk about. Well, if that is going to be the last one, thank you very much for joining in. I do apologise, we were slightly late as well. Just had a few things that we were trying to sort out. But please, as always, catch the recording at Unios Live. And I'll be back next month. I'm not sure on the topic yet, so maybe if you want to send in a topic, that would be awesome. Leave one in the comments that you'd like to hear about next time, and I'll write it up. So thank you very much, and have a great day. Thank you.